Hello, people. Good evening. How are you? Doing okay? Doing well? As a family? For those in Nigeria, how is Nigeria? Those in Ghana, how is Ghana? Wherever you are, hope you're doing good. I know that maybe one or two in the US or elsewhere. Thank you for joining tonight. I'm looking forward to sharing an awesome conversation on this topic. This month of July, we've been looking at ideas for staying. We've been looking at customer data, and today we're looking at ideas for staying in touch. Ideas for staying in touch with your customers. We're just going to share maybe 2 or 3 of those and delve deeply into it. Probably a bit of a recap. Someone says that repetition is the tool for lasting. Here's something to not already heard before, but we're still gonna say it anyway. So customer data ideas for staying in touch. Ideas for staying in touch. Now, in previous conversations, we established the fact that it is vitally important that you find a way of collecting and curating customer data in your small business. We also suggested methods for doing this collection. In fact, we actually had a Kabila community conversation where we demonstrated these methods for collecting and curating customer data. So we essentially have been dealing with on this topic for a while, and if for any reason you kind of haven't been following, maybe you've not been here live, it will be useful to kind of just go back to those sessions and listen in if you can. Now we are trying to make this as relevant as possible, as practical as possible, so that the moment you listen to a session, hello Auntie Florence, great to see you. So the moment you listen to a session, you will be immediately able to implement what you hear, because that is where the real value is. And I also like to emphasize that when we join these calls, we have to just pay attention and keep asking the question in our minds, what can I take away from this? How is this going to be of help to me? I'm going to spend maybe 30 minutes, 40 minutes in this call. Is it going to be worth it? Or would I rather be doing something else? So every time we come into these sessions, I want us to just, make sure that we are paying enough attention to, be able to use what it is that we are sharing in the sessions. So customer data ideas for staying in touch. All right, sorry about that, a little break there. So ideas for staying in touch. I'm going to start by sharing 2 ideas, then extend the thought, the conversation. The first is, and I've said this before, once you have collected customer data, maybe you've saved the numbers on your phone, you have done a Google form, collected some maybe survey or something like that, you want to have a strategy for using the data. You want to have a way to make sure that you don't just have a whole pile of numbers doing nothing. The issue of sending bulk is necessary if you have a large chunk of numbers running into hundreds. But if you don't have numbers running into hundreds, there are much simpler ways of making things happen with that data. One of the simple ways is simply making cold calls, right? The traditional phone call that you give your customer to make a sale, share something with them, share some information with them, felicitate with them on their own special days and so forth. So let me talk about special days. Let me just talk about the aspect of special days. It's important. You see, in a part of the world, people, I personally am not very enthused about celebrating birthdays all the time, right? But a lot of people love to hear someone wish them a happy birthday. A lot of people love to. There's that, there's that thrill of knowing that somebody remembered your birthday, right? So it does become a marketing tool, a relationship building tool, if you can find a way to remember your customers' birthdays and send them a message, whether that message is an SMS or a WhatsApp message. Now, if you are going to be able to do that, it takes another additional level of work, which means a way of reminding yourself when those birthdays happen, as well as a way of asking them or convincing them to give you their birthdays, right? So that may be part of your form, that may be part of your first engagement with them. You may save it on your phone, and we demonstrated that during the last Kabila community workshop as well. You can do all that and then use a calendar to remind yourself to send that message or to make that call. Now, if that can be very burdensome, because let's assume you have 10 customers. That means you are going to have to talk to them, each one of them, on their birthdays 10 times a year, aside from other communications you may need to do with them, because you can't just call them once a year, right? But it's just that you want to be strategic about particularly calling them on that day of their birthday. But the whole idea of maintaining people's birthdays, getting reminders, collecting those birth dates during interactions, it's also some level of work, right? So you want to ask yourself, is this the strategy that I want to follow? And that strategy of using birthdays as the contact point, it might make sense for you depending on the kind of business you do. Let's assume you do business around event planning. You may be interested in collecting birthdays and calling people on their birthdays. Let's say you do some business around children. Maybe you make clothes for children, you make cakes for children, you sell shoes or bags, whatever it is that brings you in contact with children. Obviously, children are more enthused about their birthdays than adults in many cases. Now, in that case, you are now dealing with a bit of a situation, because in that relationship between the service provider and the child is not the customer. The child is the consumer. The child is the person who is going to use the service. The customer who is actually paying for their service is the parent, right? So what you would want to do, obviously a child may not have a birthday, a phone to receive birthday messages or whatever. You're probably going to send that message to their parents on their birthday, or call their parents on their birthday to tell them that you remembered their son's or daughter's birthday. and that you'd like to wish them well, and whether they would like any. Maybe you have an offer. You can do an offer. If you make cakes, you can probably make a small cake as a token, so that that relationship is strengthened. But if you're not going to do that, maybe you want to make an offer. Is there anything you want me to do for you ahead of your birthday, or otherwise? Now, so depending on your area of business, birthdays might be important to you, right? Now, they may also be, hello, Uchen, great to see you, welcome. There may also be other kinds of special days, maybe wedding anniversaries. It's possible that your business is like one of us, event planning or wedding planning. Your business might be wedding gowns, selling them. Your business might be, again, making cakes or confectionaries or catering. Your business might be selling shoes. Your business might be selling gift items for couples. So, depending on that kind of business, the concept of capturing and curating anniversaries may be important to you, so that you make sure you are calling your customers or sending them a message on their anniversaries, so that on those anniversaries, that is the touch point, that is the fulcrum, aside from other things you're doing. Now, another very important one is public holidays. In the subject of special days, many people also use public holidays to feature their brand, and there are people that go all the way out, even public holidays all over the world. Africa something something day, slippers and shoes day. They know all the days. So because they have strategically positioned themselves in that area to say, I'm going to just be using the most any day that is of relevance to me, that has a special meaning to anyone. I'm going to use those days to kind of promote my brand. Some people, they do it. Most of them I see is on social media. But the point is, you can also follow that strategy of keeping the customer keeping yourself on the customer's mind. In January, you find out what are the special days. Is there an anniversary? Is there a national holiday? Is there some Veterans Day, some Child Rights Day, something that is of interest to some people, and use that day to send out that message, make that call. Typically to be a message in this context, because it's not personal to the person. It's just a day that may be of interest to your potential customers or existing customers. So you use that day, International Women's Day and all that, Labor Day, and send out those messages. You may add some bit of information about that day or educative tips about that day to show how you informed you are of it, just to keep in touch. So those are on special days. The point that we're making is you can orient yourself around special days, either those special days that are personal to your customers, such as birthdays and anniversaries, or special days that are general, public holidays, to make sure you are keeping in touch with your customers. Now, the second thing you could do is to do a schedule, is to simply do a schedule. A schedule says that maybe on the last Monday of every month, I'm going to message all my customers and tell them, and just say something nice to them. I encourage them and tell them, keep moving, be strong, keep excelling in all that you do, whatever it is. Share with them a nice quote or something, and all that. You just make it your strategy that I don't want to start thinking about people's birthdays or anniversaries or whatever. I just want to just focus on my business, make it very simple, and every last Monday of the month, I'll just send out a note to them to make sure that they are with me, they're in touch with me. Now, that may work for you. Being able to schedule that, make that part of your calendar, remind yourself of it, and get it done. You may also want to modify, or how do I put it, design your communication strategy in a way that meaningfully gets you sales. What that means is that you cannot send a message to everyone every month asking them to buy something from you. Don't do that. People who do that are annoying. I'm sure you have some annoying people who send you buy this or that every week on your WhatsApp, or send you pictures of their clothes to buy. That is not what you should be doing. What you should be doing is building relationships with your communication. And people talk about the value sell model, which means month one, you just say hello, share a thought, share some information, wish them well. Month two, you do that. Month three, then you talk a little bit about what your latest offers, or your latest items that they can buy. So value sell, value sell. That way they don't feel that you are bothering them with the messages. They anticipate those messages because those messages are of value to them, right? You could do this through an SMS, through WhatsApp share, through different kinds of media. And let me extend the thought to the case where you have a schedule, not just for communicating, one way, but a schedule for engaging your customers. And that is exactly what we do here in the Kabila community. We don't send birthday messages. We don't send anniversary messages, not because we don't like your anniversary, but it's just a position we've taken. But we have this session every week for us to interact, and talk and get to know people. We also have the WhatsApp, which affords us the opportunity that even when we can't find you, at least we can send a message on WhatsApp and ask you to join the interactive session. So it's a way of keeping in touch with your customers, giving them value, and once in a while selling something to them as well. So you can also decide on this model depending on the kind of business you do. The other day, I saw someone who was talking about insurance, that insurance is difficult to sell in Nigeria. And he may be right. Insurance is difficult to sell in many places, but in some advanced countries, people have more free cash. So it's easier to sell them something that doesn't have immediate gratification, right? But in poorer countries, when something doesn't have immediate gratification, it's more difficult to sell. But one of the ways you sell things like that is by educational marketing, which is something we have talked about in previous sessions on this platform, where we are saying find a way to educate your audience on the value of your product. Let's assume, for example, you're selling honey, and I've given this example before, and you schedule a Zoom call every week, and you say in that Zoom call that what you're going to do is to demonstrate from your kitchen recipes you can make, simple recipes you can make using honey. So that way you are, maybe you're collecting email addresses, right? Because you're asking people to register ahead, and then you send them a message that you're starting the session. You share with them recipes for making stuff using honey. Now you are being educational in your approach, but at the end of each session, you're asking people if they want to buy your own brand of pure honey. That is one way of doing that. You can be educational about other things as well, and essentially schedule that. It's not just an SMS you're sending. It's not just a WhatsApp message you're sending, encouraging them. You're actually having an engagement like this Kabila Community Conversations or a Zoom call, depending on stuff. Now, I think it was Nati who has if you looked at the link he has for August County. August County is basically a platform for selling clothing that is faith-based, which means on their outfits they will have something printed in front, maybe commit sold out to Jesus, or Philippians 4:13 or something. Now, A typical buyer of any clothing will ask himself, I mean, I just want a sweatshirt. It doesn't have to have anything printed on it. It doesn't have to have Jesus loves me printed on it. You now, in attempting to sell such a product, will have to communicate an ideology that, you know, makes people want to buy that your selling point, which is the fact that my faith is being expressed in my sale. So you think about that and say, okay, how do I create a platform for educating people that this product is worth buying? And that is especially important when what you're selling is not common consumable or something that is a need, so to speak, right? You have found a way to differentiate yourself, but you have to now convince people that the difference you're making is of value to them. So in that case, what you need is educational marketing. Having your customer data affords you the opportunity to share with them that, look, I'm having this at this time, join me and let's share together. All right, let me end today's session with a short story and some lessons from the story. Let me not say end it, but at least end my section also before we come up to the platform to contribute. I've shared this story before in the previous versions of common sense customer experience. We used to, in my former company, we used to get a little money for children, for buying Christmas gifts for children. And on one of those years, I went to a particular shop, or my wife and I, we went to a particular shop with that money and bought a dress. While after we bought the dress, the woman asked us for a number. In fact, she wasn't even using any sophisticated method. She wasn't using Google Forms like I talk about. It was just a piece of paper, and we were writing it there. So, after a whole year of being in that shop, when it was getting close to the time we were to receive that money for Christmas, because she's one of the shops registered with the bank to sell to the bank's employees, she probably knew the period around which the money comes, and she sent a text message, and I was so impressed. I was impressed because this means this woman actually did something useful with that number she was collecting. It means that she actually was very strategic in waiting for the time when the money for the clothing would come, right? And then she sent the SMS to us whether we would like to buy something from our shop. But what I was not impressed with was the fact that she waited a whole year to take that step. Because think about it. If you want to do that, you can do that on the 23rd of every month, 24th of every month, 25th, when you know that people's salaries are coming. And you know the kind of place they work with because you're affiliated with the bank. Then every 24th, you just send them a message for them to remember you. You can, make it your scheduled message. Around that period, they have money, and in a consistent basis, so that you're top of mind, because there are so many shops selling children's clothing. Why should I buy from you? One of the reasons people buy from people is because they are being bothered, pressured to buy. So my problem with her was that she waited too long to send that message, because we could have bought from her at other times independent of that particular offer from our workplace. Another thing that I was taken aback by is that aspect of building a relationship, because you don't just make the communication to your client, like I've said before, an issue of selling always. So if once in a while she would say hello in her text, maybe we would have warmed up enough to say, okay, I'm going to buy from this woman simply because she's nice, not even because not just because maybe that's I could have another shop close to me. I could have other options, but I decided to buy because this person has shown a level of commitment to their customer. Yeah. So I want you to think about this very well before I close out. You must be I noticed that one of the things about small businesses operating in a part of the world is a certain sense of, I don't know whether I to call it timidity. When a customer buys from you and stops buying from you for a while, right? That is another opportunity. It's like a trigger. So in the first case, we talked about using special days. Second case, we talk about using a schedule to say this is when I'll send a message. The third possible case is a trigger. Something happens and you want to use it as a leverage to communicate with your customer. It could be something like what I've mentioned. The person hasn't been to your shop in, let's say, 3 months. The person hasn't patronized your items for 3 months. And you say, look, these are all the numbers that haven't come here in 3 months. That means you're keeping track, you're keeping record. And then you send them a message and say, hello, how are you? I hope everything is okay. We've not seen you in a while, etc. Finish. That way, if they were about to forget you, maybe they'll remember you again. Now, I want to say I recall that while I was mentioning the fact that some business people, when a customer goes away, they simply forget them. Meanwhile, you have that person's contact. Now, don't do that. What that tells you is that you don't feel confident enough about your products to pressurize, if you like, people to patronize you. There is competition out there. Competition is real. Competition is just there. In order for you to survive or thrive or go beyond just barely, merely surviving, you have to brace yourself and take, face the competition headlong and say, okay, I need to know where to position myself. I need to pull my weight. I need to make sure that I don't lose customers. Sometimes losing customers is not because they don't like you anymore. It's simply because somebody else is more aggressive than you are in staying in touch with them. So it's very important that if you are not using a special day as your communication mechanism of mechanism for communicating with customers, you should be using a schedule. If you're not using a schedule, then use a trigger. Yeah, it's either it's a special day schedule or a trigger, which means the trigger might be this person has not come here in a while. Let me call the person or get in touch. The trigger might also be maybe there's an event in the nation and people are checking on each other. A few years ago, June 3rd, there was a flood, fire, and some people died in fire. An event like that. Maybe there's an earthquake or an earth tremor, and you send out the message to all your customers. Oh, there's just been a tremor in Accra. I hope you are doing well. So it's a trigger for you. Or there's an economic downturn, for a while. And you say the IMF is doing this or that, or the nation is borrowing this or that, and you send out a message to your customers. I hope you're doing well. Hope the economy is not hitting you too hard. I mean, let that external event trigger you. If you're not sending them a message every week or every month, but at least maybe you decide to position yourself. Maybe you want to save cost of messaging or time. Position yourself in a way that says, okay, we're going to check on these people if this happens, etc. So those are areas or ideas for staying in touch with the customer. It's so very important. Choose one that will not interfere too much with your work, but find a way to stay in touch so that you're always on the customer's mind. I see only 2 people in the room. I'm just going to invite you up in case you have a question or in case you have a contribution. I'm very happy to hear your voice, but don't feel under pressure to do so. I'm very happy to hear your voice. How are you, sir? Doing good. So while it is coming up, I just want to mention, as usual, this is Kabila Community. We are focused on consumer goods entrepreneurs operating in Africa, and our business is to share knowledge and promote networking among such entrepreneurs so that we can do more, be more, learn more, grow together as a community. So let me give the mic to the mighty Uche to share his thoughts on this conversation or any questions that you might have.
Hi, Kabila.
Hello.
It is beautiful to be here again.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh, uh, um, for those that are not here, for those that are here, I say thank you for being part of this team that brings joy, smile, and happiness to the minds and hearts of people. My contribution to this is that in first of all, where is Elizabeth?
I'm sure I'll check on that. I'm sure something kept her back, but I just entered the room quickly today, so I've not been able to do that check.
Okay. Uh, in building relationships, when you build relationship, it is easy for you to say what's on your mind, even in business. Uh, Business people most especially look at people's pocket and not how they are. If you ask for how they are, they can easily empty their pocket for you. If you treat them good, there's an adage in Yoruba that says, Ọ̀rọ̀ tútù ni máa ń yọbì lápò, meaning that it is soft words that bring out the cooler from your pocket. So if you use soft words, if you use caring, it will bring a lot of goodies your way. Uh, the thought of Ken knows me. Ken knows how I trouble him, even when I want to ask for how he is. But I'm not looking for something from him. I'm just being me. Be you. Do you. And things will come your way. Just be natural. That's what we call organic marketing. It comes naturally. Just make sure that you are the caring type. You are the one that is thoughtful about the wish of your customers. Oh, I have a customer, just like a book I read that said that a car dealer, once he sells a car, once he brokers a deal, uh, learns about his customers, the kind of music they like, and packs a bag full of that kind of music, plus some different kinds of mix of that music genre, and give it to them at the delivery of his car. When that person is enjoying the goodies of the car, he's also enjoying the music that came with it. That has made his sales double. When we are talking cars, we are not talking small money. Meaning the person that experienced that. Let's, just like I said, let's meeting you, let's dealing with you be an experience. A person that experienced that can go and say, hey, why don't you check that car salesman out? Look at what he did to me the other day. I really enjoyed it. And I'm still enjoying it. Or someone that comes in the car while he's driving and playing those music. Where did you get this from? Oh, it came with the car. Oh, who is the person giving you, selling this car to you? That's a form of referral. So it is just like in Christianity, the way you live preaches more than what you say. So it's a beautiful thing that you can go out there, reach out to people that you don't even know, and they respond to you. And also, I've said on this platform, target marketing is key. Know who needs your product and go for them. If you have identified them, that, oh, just like Ken said that he visited the shop, if you have identified them, always give a prompting on them, most especially on a public holiday. Write about the day, give details of what happened on such days, and it will make a whole world of difference. That's my thought for the day, Ken. Have a beautiful
Wow,
day.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I think we just started from that aspect of do you be you, and I think it just rhymes with what I also shared in terms of someone like me. Maybe I'm not. It may not be that enthusiastic about birthdays, for example, but there's another way in which you connect with people. Maybe a shadow, maybe a trigger. So the point is, make it happen. No one who is genuinely doing business, like you have said, fails to actually care about the customers that they are attempting to win over. There has to be some level of interest beyond just getting their money. So what you're trying to do here with that data you've collected is to connect with that area in which you are naturally gravitating towards them to be of help to them, right? So these are very powerful shares, and that aspect of identifying who really needs your product. That's your potential customer, your customer segment, and even when you already have existing customers, the more you look at them based on patterns, maybe buying patterns, maybe relationship patterns, you will know those who are repeat customers, those who can sell you to the next customer. And then it's like that 20% that creates 80% of your business, Pareto's principle. And that story is absolutely awesome. Using that incentive of music to sell cars. We just have to be creative. We just have to go beyond and above, outside the box in order to, make things happen in our own spaces. I trust we have learned something powerful today, and thank you for joining. I see that there are a few people who joined from outside Clubhouse. Do well to try to get the app, because when you have the app, then you can also ask your questions or contribute. Right now, I don't know whether there's any question in the chat. Let me see that very quickly. Might not be live, but can hear the conversation. Yes. So Mars, I guess you're one of them. So if you are joining from the web, you probably will not be able to speak. But if you install the app, then you'll be able to speak. That's essentially how it works. So, Uche, thank you so much for also sharing, and thank you, and Florence, for being there. Everyone else, this, like I say always, this is recorded, so you'll be able to listen to it later here. You'll also be able to listen to it on YouTube. But again, it's always better to be here live so that we share, we respond in the context of conversation, and probably have opportunities to ask questions even related to our own businesses. And that brings me to another topic, which I'll just share very briefly. Sometimes people come, personally, one on one, asking for help in this or that way. One of the ways I try to mitigate that is having a group like this, so that if there is something, a question you can bring to the table that that is not so personal, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be private. Imagine if we had to answer those questions for 50 people. You'll constantly be on the phone responding to people, responding to chats, which is not feasible. So when we gather in a group like this and it's a question, even if it's not on the topic, that's why it's a tribe. It's a question you can ask that I will be able to contribute a response to. Mighty Uche will be able to contribute a response. Auntie Florence will be able to contribute a response. Mars will be able to contribute a response. Other people who can share their own experiences will contribute a possible result. That's why we talk about the fact that Kabila is your external board of directors. You don't have a board of directors as a small business, as a rising entrepreneur, but we can become that board that helps you take the right decisions at the right time. All right, let me drop the mic for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for being there. I trust this has been useful as we enter a new month. We'll focus on something new. I think we have one more week, but I'll just check that out. And I look forward to seeing you again next week, 7 p.m. GMT on Kabila Community Conversations. Have an awesome week ahead. Thank you so much.